I'm going to share why so many successful career driven women will start a fitness journey and then burn out often in the first couple weeks because we see this time and time again. I'm going to share exactly why that is based on our experience in working with so many women over the last near decade. For those that don't know, my name is Bo Murley. I'm the founder of Alpha Her, and for the last 10 years, we have coached over 3,000 successful career driven women inside our one-to-one coaching program. So, here's what we typically see. And not only do we see this with women who we speak with every single day, but also when a woman first joins our program, day one, those first like week or two, we notice that sometimes stress and anxiousness is really, really high. And we work with so many women who put a lot of stress and pressure on themselves. They have a higher bar from themselves than anyone else in their life. And in some areas of life, that's a really good thing because it's what allowed them to be successful when it comes to their career and getting promoted or in business or entrepreneurship, right? But sometimes in fitness, it does more harm than good. And here's what I mean by this, and maybe this resonates with you watching, where you just get to a point where you know something needs to change. Maybe you saw a photo on Facebook or you saw pictures from a wedding that you were in or visiting or going to, or maybe it wasn't a great physical with your doctor, or you ran one day with your kids and you got super out of breath and had to like sit down for a second to catch your breath and you realized how out of shape you're in. Whatever, we all have that moment of clarity where it's like, hey, something needs to change. And we'll see women who maybe decide that Thursday or Friday and they're like, okay, on Monday I'm going all in. I'm going to do something. I'm going to make this change and lose this weight and step into this woman that I used to be, right? And then what happens is they've struggled for so long because they have so much on their plate. They have kids, they have family, they have responsibilities, they have a career. A lot of women we work with manage people because they got promoted, they have employees under them, and there's just thousands upon thousands of things on their plate every single day. And then when they decide to make their health and fitness journey a priority, they do more harm than good by, again, dumping a bunch of things that they feel like they have to do. What I mean by this is if a woman decides on her own she's going to make a change and she's going to become a new woman, that does not happen in just a couple days. But they think that it can work like that. Meaning on Sunday they'll go grocery shopping. They'll spend all Sunday like meal prepping for the week and have all their meals ahead of time prepared. And then like when it comes to meals, by Tuesday or Wednesday, they had to fire an employee. Something like this happened. Their kid got sick, so they had to work from home one day. They weren't as productive as they had been. And then, come dinner Wednesday night, they're like, well, I got this meal prep. Like I did this on Sunday. I'm not really feeling that. And they'll order pizza off DoorDash or whatever. And then everything's ruined again, right? So what I mean by this is it's the same. That was just like the meal prep example, but like, they'll feel like, okay, I need to start meal prepping. Every Sunday, I'm going to take 5 or 6 hours in meal prep. I need to get back to the gym and go five days a week. So every morning this week, I'm going to wake up and work out. I'm going to get back on those supplements that I used to take that made me feel a little bit better. I'm going to make sure I'm walking during my 45-minute lunch break. I'm going to walk around our firm's complex where I work and get a walk in. They'll do that. And they're like, I'm also going to track my food, everything I eat through my fitness pal. I'm going to pay $5 to get the premium version of that so I can take pictures of labels. I'm also going to get to bed at 9 p.m. starting this week. I'm going to get a new water jug and make sure I'm drinking 120 ounces of water per day. I'm also going to take first thing in the morning 10 minutes to do stretching and mobility. And you see how this happens? Like, my point of this ramble is women think like this that we speak to. They haven't been consistent in working out and eating right for quite some time. And then in just a matter of few days, they'll take 10, 12 different things, put it on their plate, and they feel pressure and overwhelm. And sometimes they'll do well for a couple days and stick to it. Then something happens and they crash and burn again. And then they do that and then they have shame or guilt. Like, why does this keep happening? Why do I, try to do something? It's just, you're trying to do too much. You're trying to do too much. You need to simplify to amplify. I've done this for 10 years. You make many mistakes and you learn things, you evolve, you can never replicate experience of like working with real women on a daily basis in our program. You see things. And at the beginning, like 7-8 years ago, we would be like, these are the 10 habits you need to implement on day one. Now we bring in a woman, those first couple weeks, if she can just do one thing differently, one habit that she hasn't been consistent with for quite some time. If we can do that, that's a huge, huge, huge win. Here's what I mean. If we bring in a new woman into our program in the first week, she's basically very sedentary. She's averaging, we had her check her iPhone or whatever, she's usually getting 2,000 steps in per day. If we could take that and in the first couple of weeks, she goes from 2,000 steps to say 8,000 steps, and she 4x her amount of steps per day, and she's done that consistently for a couple of weeks. That in itself is such a huge, huge, huge win for her. Or if she hadn't worked out consistently for years, she hadn't went to the gym, but she goes to the gym twice on a Tuesday and Thursday in those first couple of weeks with us. That's a huge, huge, huge win. She does not remember the last time where she didn't have more or drink more than one day. She constantly has some wine 3 or 4 nights a week to wind down, and then she has a little bit more than she needs to. She doesn't sleep well. Maybe in the first couple of weeks she only has 1 glass on Saturday nights. Again, that's a huge, huge win. My point is when we can take a woman and really singular our focus, it's usually 1 or maybe 2 habits that we need to instill at the beginning of the program. Maybe it is like being in a caloric deficit, making sure you're getting enough protein in. If we can just do that consistently for a couple of weeks, that's a huge win. But you can only focus in on implementing 1 or 2 habits early on at a time. And then once you prove to yourself that you can be consistent, you've proved to us that you can be consistent, then we start dripping. We'll be like, okay, now that you're getting walks in, we have a lot of women who we won't even do like actual workouts in their first couple of weeks. If they've been super inconsistent, haven't worked out in years, let's just get some walks in. You know, right now weather's nice, get outside, let's get 3 30-minute walks per day. And then a woman does that for 2 or 3 weeks. She's been consistent. It's like, okay, now what we're gonna do is let's do a 15-minute quick at-home workout, and then right after you're done with your workout, go get another 15-minute walk in outdoors. Same amount of time, we haven't changed anything, but now instead of just walking, we added a little bit of workout. But she had to prove that she can be consistent with 3 30-minute walks per week first, and then we'll come in and then we'll add an actual workout on top of it. But that's how you do things. And then we have women who have been with us 3, 4, 5 months where we've done that, and then they step away and they're like, gosh, I've built like 7 or 8 really, really good habits here. That's how you do this. But so many successful women, they already are struggling because they're limited on time. They put a lot of stress and press on them, or stress and pressure. I'm trying to combine 2 words. Stress and pressure on themselves, and think they're going to wake up one day and be this completely new woman. And it doesn't work like that. And they put more on their plate, and they think they need to do more and more and more, and then they do well for a week, and then they fall off and burn out and give up, and then that cycle just continues for years upon years upon years, and often their problems and their weight and their health get worse and worse and worse. I said this, and I shared this with our clients this week inside our community. It'd be like, think about this: if I had like a good friend, and he told me, oh, Bo, I just really been stressed and anxious lately. My mind keeps racing. Maybe I talked to him and he's never done any type of meditation or breath work before in his entire life. My one recommendation to him would be like, okay, man, I would say 5, ideally maybe 10 minutes a day. I want you to just close your eyes and focus on your breath. Take some deep breaths in, deep breaths out, close your eyes, set a timer on your phone for even 5 minutes, and do that every single day for the next like couple weeks, and then let me know if you feel any different. And if he did that and he's like, I do feel different, be like, okay, cool. So maybe now do that. Then maybe also meditate for 5 minutes, and then just write down on a journal, 3 or 4 things you're grateful for. Just whatever comes to mind, maybe more if you're a day where you're feeling really extreme gratitude. And he starts doing that, right? But my point is if like, I told my friend, I'm like, well, what you gotta do is you gotta meditate, you gotta journal, you gotta do a bunch of, breath work. You should go to like a yoga class. You should do this, and like 4 or 5 different things. He'd be like, oh yeah, it would cause more stress. It would cause more anxiousness in his life, by giving him 4 or 5 things that could be helpful versus 1. Because if he's stressed and anxious and he's down on himself for feeling that way, he needs to go 1 for 1. He needs to set 1 habit, which is a 5-minute meditation, and do that for a couple weeks to build his confidence back up. And then once he's proven to himself that he can do that, then maybe do another type of practice that might help, his mental health and help reduce his stress, right? It's the same thing with your health and fitness. So the whole takeaway of this is just to share experience. But if you decide to make your health and fitness a priority, you've drawn the line in the sand, and you've said enough's enough, I beg you to only focus in on one, maybe two habits at the beginning. One or two things, and stop and take some time to reflect and think about it. What is like one thing I could be doing to improve my health and fitness? Maybe what are two things I could be doing? Maybe it is getting 10,000 steps in. Maybe it is just getting a 30-minute walk with your husband every single night after work 5 days a week. Maybe it's something that simple. You don't need to completely like dump 100,000 things on you that you feel like you need to be doing, because it's just, you're not going to stick to it. You're going to burn out. So do that. Think of like one or two things that would be very helpful. Maybe it's cutting back. Maybe you eat out 3 or 4 times a week. Maybe it's cutting that back to 1 and just do that for a couple weeks. Maybe it's that you do have like 3 or 4 drinks most nights of the week. Maybe give up alcohol for a bit and just focus on that for a couple weeks. But again, you got to create momentum. You got to keep these little habits. And here's the thing too, from a human psychology standpoint, say you try to do 10 habits at once and you went 3 for 10, 30%, you did 3 habits. I would rather a woman go 1 for 1 or 2 for 2 versus 3 for 10. Now that sounds counterintuitive, because you're like, well, Bo, if they do 3 out of 10, that means they're doing more. Yes, but they're also failing on 70% of their list, and they'll get down and be shameful and like not respect themselves and feel bad about it. So I'd rather a woman go 1 for 1 or 2 for 2, simple habits, show that she can be consistent, and that's how you build up to consistently going, 5 for 5, 6 for 6, 7 for 7 over time. It's better to do things that way versus trying to do 12 things and only be able to accomplish 1 or 2 of them. I've done this a long time. It builds up women's confidence when they set one goal or one habit and they go 1 for 1 very consistently with it. So hopefully that makes sense. If you're serious about making this change and feel like you could benefit from a one-to-one coaching program where everything's tailored to you, you have unlimited access with a coach at all times to really dial in that accountability and support, there should be a link around here where you can learn more about our program, go through a quiz, and based on your answers to that quiz, you get access to the most relevant training that lays out step-by-step exactly how our program works and how we've been able to help thousands of women over the last near decade. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.